What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. All right, moving on to the Nuggets and the Thunder. I thought this was the most impressive win that I saw so far from a team this season. The Thunder 2-0 at home, all full of piss and vinegar, ready to try to get a big win against the Denver Nuggets. And they just get their ass kicked. It's funny because, I really do believe that the Nuggets are only a little bit better than the teams at the top of the league when they're fully formed. But you're seeing, the Lakers are working shit out with their rotation and their rhythm, and most of their guys aren't playing very well. Damian Lillard came into camp out of shape, and the Bucks look pretty bad here early on, right? The Celtics are really good, but you know how it goes with the Celtics. You're always worried about them in the late rounds of the playoffs. The Sixers are we're going to talk about them later, but they're kind of working some things out. Devin Booker and Bradley Beal are injured and not available to play. So it's right now, if the season ended today, the Nuggets are way better than the rest of the teams in the league. But I do think in the big picture, everyone's going to catch up to a certain extent. I don't think the Nuggets have that significant of a talent advantage. But the Nuggets are the best team in the league right now, and it's not particularly close. And they just have an inevitability to what they do offensively. Nikola Jokic just burying Chet Holmgren under the basket a few times early in the game just to show him, hey, you literally cannot guard me down here, right? They can punish mismatches elsewhere on the floor. We saw Aaron Gordon do it in the post a bunch of times already this season. We've seen Jamal Murray more in the postseason last year, but we know he can do that too. And then one of the things that was really impressive to me about the Thunder were they were throwing pretty aggressive coverages at the two-man game that the Nuggets were running. And the Nuggets are just so good at countering your counters, right? And so you can kind of see the Thunder, every single time there'd be a ball screen on the right side of the floor. And the defender would the defender would chase over the top, and Jamal Murray or Reggie Jackson or somebody would start going downhill a little bit, right? And you would see the classic defensive rotation take place. So you got let's call it a shooter in the corner and a shooter on the wing, and you'll literally see the Thunder players rotate, so the guy guarding the guy in the corner will come over underneath the basket to basically guard the pick and roll 3-on-2. And then the guy guarding the wing will drop to the corner to take away that skip pass and pick and roll. And the Nuggets are just this is easy. We're just going to stash an athlete on the left wing every single time and have him cut down the lane. And you've seen that be KCP a lot with the starters, but in the bench group, you're seeing Peyton Watson have a lot of success with that. He's gotten really good at just identifying as soon as his man drops down to essentially replace the low man who comes over and pick and roll, Peyton Watson's just cutting to the basket. And again, how often can you get away with putting an athlete above the break who's not a great shooter, although Peyton Watson's been making some threes this season too. But you put an athlete there because you hit him as he's running full speed to the basket, and he could just jump over everybody and put it home. And the Nuggets just know exactly what they want to do every single time down the floor. They know exactly how to get baskets if you defend their action 2-on-2 in their ball screen game, right? And then they know exactly how to counter every single aggressive defensive coverage that you throw at them. It's too easy for them. And then again, it just felt like every single time the Nuggets wanted an easy basket, they just throw it to Jokic and he'd bury Chet Holmgren and put it up underneath the basket. There was even a transition play where Jamal Murray looks up and Jokic is running along the left lane line, and Chet's kind of waiting underneath the basket, and Jokic is just calling for the ball. Jamal just throws a rifle pass, hits him. Jokic just literally just bodies Chet once and shoots a little floater in the lane. They just make it look so unbelievably easy. And then on the other end, they're actually defending at an extremely high level to start the season. They're 7th in defensive rating. Teams are shooting just 28% from three against the Nuggets. SGA had a nightmare shooting game in this Thunder game. Now, again, in the big picture, are teams going to shoot 28% against the Nuggets all season? No. But this is the kind of thing that they can do to teams when they physically pulverize you on the other end. I talk a lot about how the mental element of basketball, the confidence element, it actually throws other teams out of rhythm when they see you scoring so easily. You start to get in your head about shots because they're making everything. And like that directly affects your confidence. And I don't think it's a coincidence that teams shoot as poorly as they do against the Nuggets. Some of it, again, is the teams they've played, right? The Lakers, who have been shooting like shit all season, the Timberwolves, who don't have great off-ball shooting, and this Thunder team who can struggle a little bit with spot-up possessions as well. Guys like Shai and guys like Josh Giddey are not outstanding spot-up shooters. So like they can have their issues there as well. But at the end of the day, it in the big picture, it has a lot to do with what they're doing on the other end of the floor. They got Michael Porter Jr. going in this game as well. I think they're going to run away with the 1 seed in the West in the regular season. And I think they have a good chance to win the midseason tournament, which I think would be great for the NBA because they're trying to build this NBA Cup as like a second tournament that's different from the playoffs in that it's single elimination and that has some certain amount of prestige. That's why they're calling it the NBA Cup. That's why they're putting the trophy on the courts for the courts that they swap at every single game. They're leaning hard into this NBA Cup thing. And in order for it to be legitimate, it needs to go to the best team more often than not, right? And so like I think it'd be good for the league if the Nuggets just went and won the midseason tournament, because that'd be that indicator of like, yeah, we're just better than all of you guys. And this tournament is another way to show that. And if that's what it turns into, if the tournament just becomes another area for teams to express themselves as the best, that's where that tournament can gain some prestige. And if it gains some prestige, teams will care about it. If teams care about it, like you want to get to the point where it's like we're talking 15 years from now, like, man, Jokic has 5 NBA Cups to go with 3 NBA champions, and Giannis only has 3 NBA Cups. Like that's what you want. You want people counting that accomplishment in the same breath as MVP, in the same breath as the Larry O'Brien. It may never get to the Larry O'Brien, but if it can get into the same breath as MVP as an accomplishment, that would go a long way towards adding legitimacy to the award. On the Thunder front, I think you really saw the lack of a big, strong 4-man in this game. Again, like I talk a lot about the different kinds of wings, and you want to have like slender, athletic wings that can navigate screens and move quickly and bother guys on the perimeter. But you also need, especially next to Chet, who is going to be a little bit of a thin player at the center position, right? You need to have somebody who's of Aaron Gordon's type of archetype, somebody that's between 6'8" and 6'10", who's really physically strong, that can handle some of the bigger, stronger matchups. Because they didn't really even have an option to put Chet off of Jokic in this game because there was just not anybody strong enough to bang with him in those situations. And I like Jalen Williams, but he's a little too short, right? And like Lou Dort is very physically strong, but he's too short to bother a guy like Jokic. I think that's the next move for this team, is they need to take a look at that starting lineup and see if there's somebody out there that can kind of be their big, strong 4 in the bigger picture. Don't think they'll do it this year. This team doesn't have urgency. They're not trying to win the championship this year. But in the big picture, I think last night kind of showed you, yesterday in the afternoon, I should say, kind of showed you the ultimate ceiling of this team. Like you can imagine this team, this Thunder team, imagine they win 55 games. That's way too much. They're not going to win 55. But just say they win 55 games. And they go on this playoff run and they beat the Timberwolves in the first round, and then they head into a second round series and it's the Denver Nuggets, or it's let's say the Los Angeles Lakers, and LeBron's just picking on him in the post, and they just don't have anybody who can physically hang with him. Like that's where it can be. Or Anthony Davis, for instance. Anthony Davis would probably cause Chet Holmgren some problems burying him under the basket. So like that's an example of the ultimate ceiling they can run into if they don't eventually get a more physically imposing forward next to Chet Holmgren in the long run. The Nuggets were just too much of a bad matchup for them in that regard.